Alright guys, so this is the Module 5 overview, and so for this module, what you're going to do is write a academic research paper about a topic within your field of study that you've come to college in order to learn about. So this will be the most academic paper that we've actually written so far. Most of the others have been about fun subjects that you know about from outside of school. This one will actually be looking into what you're going to do with the rest of your life once you get out of college. And part of what's cool about that is it means you get to get your feet wet in that in your discipline and actually see what's going on inside of it in a way that you probably haven't in your career papers that you've written and stuff like that. But the other reason that this is really cool is because maybe you'll find out that you're not really into it, and this would be the best time to find that out when you're in your first semester of college, so that you can go and find something you're better at. So let's go ahead and look at the paper assignment first, and then we'll go through all of the modules to get up to it. So yes, like I just said, what you're going to do is you're going to write a 4 to 6 page research paper discussing an issue in your field, in the field you have come to college to study. You're going to find 4 to 6 sources, and you're going to use the library resources. You can also find some of them on Google, but most of them need to come from the library, and I'm going to show you guys in a different video how to do that. So for this topic, we want to pick something really specific, and this is so important that I put it in bold down here. Don't write a paper about what your field of study does, or how much money they make, or how to get that job, what credits you need, that kind of thing. Most of you have already written that paper in a class that you had in high school or some early college class or something like that. And so I'm not really interested in that paper. It's good that you wrote it. It's good to research those kinds of things. But that's not going to tell you what it's actually like to live day to day in your field of study, in being a nurse or being a teacher or something like that. What I want you to do is look up a specific either problem or exciting new thing or something like that that's happening in your field. So like if you're going to try to be a nurse, the example I have here talks about that. If you're going to do nursing, don't talk about how to become a nurse or how many nursing jobs are needed. You can talk about something like the nursing shortage and what's causing it and the solutions to it, but don't tell me like that, it's a growing job, because I'm not interested in that. You could also talk about like the difficulties experienced by nurses working in hospice care, because they have to deal with patients passing away all the time, and they have a lot of emotional stress that comes with that. You could also talk about new treatments that reduce recovery time for certain kinds of injuries. You could talk about how to have good bedside manner, how to deal with being on your feet all day, and that kind of thing. How to deal with the lack of sleep and having a 24-hour schedule that a lot of people have. Any of those is fine. Something more specific, though, than what a nurse is and what a nurse does. If you're going to be a teacher, you can talk about classroom management techniques, or you can talk about the problems with the STAR test, or some kind of specific thing like that, how to help students with ELL issues. But what I don't want you to tell me is how much a teacher makes every year and how many jobs are available or something like that. Look at what they're actually doing. If you're doing engineering, you could talk about the dangers of AI, or you could talk about new cool stuff like the SpaceX rockets or electric cars, or that giant dam that they built in China, which is arguably not very cool. Stuff like that is pretty interesting, and would fit the topic of this paper. Things like that should be interesting to you if your field of study is right for you. If you find studying something in your field of study really boring, then maybe it's not the right choice. So, if you, once you've read this very brief explanation of the paper, you can look down here and see two examples of what I'm looking for with this paper. I think both of these come from a class from this year, so they're both pretty up to date as to what I'm looking for. Alright, so how do we get there? First of all, you're going to read Chapter 15. Chapter 15 is about writing research papers and goes through all of the different things that go into it, and then you have 3 questions, I believe, to answer. Yeah, so explain what research is in your own words. Why is research important? Why do we rely on research in our daily lives? And then explain a time when you or someone you know did not do research. What was the situation and what were the consequences? So this could kind of go along with the video question you're going to have here, where you talk about a kind of research that happens in your daily life. It doesn't have to be for a paper or something like that. This could be that you didn't look up a review for a restaurant and it turned out it was really bad, and if you'd checked before you would know. Okay, so for the story time part, this is a video that you're going to upload answering these 6 questions, and this is talking about a research project that you had to do in your actual life, where you actually went through the steps of the research process. There's a video here going through what works for this project and and giving an example of it from my own life. But it could be anything from like picking a car, which is what I talked about, or picking a new apartment, choosing which school to work at, choosing your major, choosing what kind of job to get. Any of those kinds of things are good topics for research. Okay. So then we start actually brainstorming and drafting our paper. And this is still in the first week because I want to give you plenty of time to work on the rest of this stuff too. Right now you're just going to be thinking about topics that you could use. So what you're going to do first is find 2 topics in your field of study that you could write this paper about. You can probably just Google the name of your field and topics or problems or issues or something like that, and find a whole bunch of different topics to talk about, because other people have written papers like this and they've had to do the same thing. So write 3 to 4 sentences about each one in your own words, and if you don't have a field of study, just pick whatever you think sounds most interesting right now. Or whatever you'd really want to go into if you could. If it's something that seems like a pipe dream and it doesn't seem like something that's really practical, maybe you'll find out that it's more practical than you think. Okay, so for the next part, pick whichever of those 2 topics seems most interesting and find 2 articles about it. Give us hyperlinks to the articles and a few sentence summaries of each of the articles. It's best if these are from a newspaper or something scholarly, but it's not a big deal if they're not. For right now, you're just finding these on Google. You're not going to be using the library resources quite yet. That comes in the next part. So, alright, next part here. Ignore these dates, I need to fix those. This is going to be an annotated bibliography. And so I've included a video here of how to actually go to the library website and find sources there. What you're going to do is go to Academic Search Complete and find academic articles about this topic in your field of study. You're going to try to keep your search terms really simple because of those search tools aren't as smart as like Google is, but they're finding better sources usually. So once you have your sources, then for this project, you're just going to fill out all of these parts for each one. Now, these aren't paragraphs in your paper. These are just summaries of your sources to show that you know what they're about. When you actually write your paper, you can't just use summaries of different articles, because that would be a completely different kind of paper. What you're going to be doing this for is just to get your brain around what is actually in your paper and show me that you're actually doing research. So for each one, you're going to do a full works cited citation, just like the ones that we did for the last two papers. And then for each one, you'll give a brief summary in your own words. Discuss how credible and relevant the article is. So for credibility, that's talking about why these people know what they're talking about. If your article has a lot of different authors, they all have PhDs, they all work at universities, that makes it pretty credible. If it has a long works cited page full of different references, that makes it credible. If it's published in an academic journal, that makes it credible. If it's written in a magazine and has a headline that's supposed to get you to buy the magazine, then that's probably not very credible. For relevance, make sure that it is relevant to your topic. So if it's about a totally different topic, then you probably shouldn't pick it. And then finally, how would you use it to support your research? So for this part, you want to kind of imagine just briefly ahead of time what your paper would probably look like, what you think the main points in your paper are going to be, and imagine where this one would go. So this is how to get to Academic Search Complete, and this is a sample one that you can read over. So this is my citation up here, and then down here is those three parts like before. You're going to do 3 of these altogether. Next one is drafting, I believe. So this one we draft out a little bit differently than the last one. The first thing that you're going to do is go and find all of the topics that are covered in your different sources. You should have 4 to 6 sources at this point. You already found those 3 on Google, or those 2 on Google, and you found 3 on the Academic Search Complete website. And so that should be enough, probably. But find all of the topics that are related to whatever your main idea is, and that could be points in your paper, and just make a big list of them. They don't have to, your essays don't only have to be about that topic. They could have several different topics that they cover. You just want to find points that you can make in your paper that are definitely covered by your research. And that will make the rest of this way easier to do. If you don't do that, and you end up going back and trying to find stuff from your resources later to back up what you're saying, it's going to be really hard, and it's going to be a really bad paper. Okay, so then after that, you're going to write your topic sentences the same way we did before. Just taking your you're going to take your topic and turn that into a thesis statement like this, and then for each one of the topics that you found, at least 4 or 5 of them, then turn each one of those into a topic sentence. For your thesis statement, that needs to state very clearly what your paper is arguing for and what your main ideas are in one sentence. So in this one, I said standardized tests have negatively affected students because they promote teaching to the test and hurt people with language issues, disabilities, and from low socioeconomic backgrounds. So that's what I'm arguing, and that's why I'm arguing it. It doesn't even have to be an argument. It could be like talking about how, just an informative thesis that's doing the same thing, but you're still saying what's true and why. And then for your topic sentences, each one of these is just stating very clearly what that what that paragraph is going to be about, what the main idea of that paragraph is. After that, you're going to flesh them out more by adding evidence. So you're going to go into your evidence, and you're going to find a piece of evidence that supports your topic sentences. And here I've gone and I found 2 of my topic sentences. So this one is standardized testing promotes teaching to the test, meaning teachers have a lot of leave a lot of important subjects behind. And then I found this quote from a study. And I should be setting that up more. In my other example, I set it up more. Yeah, explain who wrote this and why as well. That'll save you a lot of time. And then maybe you can have a quote from your source, or you can have part of it that's paraphrased. That's what I did down here. But right now, you just want to have your topic sentences and a bunch of pieces of evidence. Once you've done all of that, your paper is mostly written, and it's just a matter of going in and filling in all of the details. And so the last part is you're going to actually go in and fill the details in by adding the parts of the paragraph that you haven't already added. At that point, you'll have your topic sentences, you'll have your evidence. You just need to add in elaboration, explanation, an intro, and a conclusion. And you should have a pretty complete paper. So if you follow along, this is the paragraph that started out as just the topic sentence. Standardized testing promotes teaching to the test. And then it became this part here, and then it became this whole paragraph. Okay, so once you're done with that, you'll have the rest of the weekend to finish your drafting. You'll turn it in again to the peer review on Sunday. You'll give and receive feedback by Tuesday. You'll turn your feedback into a final draft and turn that in on Thursday. Thursday, I'll start grading all of these, go over them over the weekend, give you all feedback, and return them on Monday with video explaining the main things that I saw happening over and over again. And then you will have until the next Monday in order to turn in final drafts. Alright, so that's it for module number 5. If you have any questions, send me an email.